But it seems like that even normie liberals and Democrats, by normie, I just mean people who haven't spent that much time reading books about politics. Maybe they tune into the media, the mass media a lot, but you don't really get a good sense of how the world works by tuning into, the New York Times, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I mean by normies. But it seems like they're getting really radicalized nowadays, like getting real pissed at the Democratic establishment. Am I viewing this with rose-tinted glasses, and you think that this is just a tempest in a teapot, and they'll, the next propaganda line that MSNBC and the New York Times rolls out will sucker them back in? Or do you think that this is the start of something potentially, a break from the Democratic Party establishment? What do you think? How are you guys reading that development?
Peter, you want to go? I'll go. Okay, so I think that the Democrats are dead and just walking around dead, and they don't realize they're dead. And it's just going to slowly become more apparent, actually, maybe quickly become more apparent to them. And when you're talking about like the normie your interest in being optimistic about this, I'm going to turn it back like how you responded about BRICS in a way and be like, okay, well, the normie Dems and their level of interest in actually changing things is directly correlated to their class. Okay, we are in the middle of a major global class war, like what you guys were talking about, and that is really going to be the main difference in the people that are starting to actually wake up, and the normie Dems who just want to feel comfortable and everything is fine as long as Trump isn't there, everything will be fine. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party is largely controlled and comprised by those people, which is why I don't think there's a future there. I think our future is not going to be electoral politics, and anything remotely in electoral politics, I think will actually come from a split in the Republican Party that leads to an anti-war, anti-corruption, America First type movement, which then working class and labor people could almost identify with more than what we're ever going to see from the elitist Democrats. That's my take. Peter?
I think that there is going to be an America First party. That's inevitably what will come from this, whether it's through the libertarian faction, whether there is a cross-pollination with progressives that are primarily populist and not into what I consider to be the overwoke distractions of social policy. Because let's face it, anything that does not relate to whether you can put food on the table, to me, is generally a waste of time. Pet projects for certain people that are in positions of comfort do not give a damn about whether or not the average person has health care, has education, has clean water, air, the planet's on fire, poisoning our soil. And we're also a very selfish culture. Western culture, by definition, is selfish because, again, it's all about, a free market without any type of a social safety net. We have a welfare state, that we have, which is created in part because you either end up breaking your ass to be successful, and that doesn't get you far, and then you have a welfare state, which in some respects even pays you more to not do anything. So the dependency becomes a really big problem. And so I do think we're heading for some type of a revolution. I don't think it's hit just yet, but this is a class war, bar none. The people that are in the upper classes, it's part of the reason why the issue of Israel is really, it's not red versus blue by any stretch. In fact, there is a lot more movement to end the state of Israel from the libertarian red side of politics than there even is from the blue progressive side of politics. Yeah. Because the libertarian red side of politics, they're armed. They're armed to the teeth. And we are the one nation in the world that truly embodies the ability to take the law into their own hands if they have to. And so by that measure, I think that the United States is heading in a direction that they may not necessarily want to go in, but they don't have a choice, which is why when I do my solo show, I will cover certain people that generally I would not break bread with. But I've basically been like a man on a mission regarding the Charlie Kirk assassination, because I'm convinced beyond any doubt that that was done by Israel, because this was a person who, it could have been anybody. I mean, we've seen different voices over the years that have had a large platform and they voice their concerns or their ideology for the purpose of making money and gaining power. But when somebody decides that they're not going to go along with the narrative, and they were warned, like the Hamptons meeting, you're going to get along. You're going to go along and get along. And if you're not, well, good luck. And then he was made an example of. Public executions are always done to make an example of not just that person, but also to send a signal to anybody else who's thinking about getting out of line, what's coming for you if you even try it. So I think it's just inevitable that we're heading for this revolutionary moment. And we, again, have to just recognize that from an Eastern perspective, looking at the West, that if you don't take care of your people, eventually they're going to rebel.
That's where we're at here. So that's our answer to the Democrat question.
They're losing the mandate of heaven. You hear that trope in the U.S. or the West all the time, like, oh, this is some exotic Oriental thing, the mandate of heaven. It's like every society on planet Earth has the same concept, basically, when you piss off the people too much.
I just want to tell you before I forget, I think you two would also find it very interesting, and your audience, I think, as well. On our channel, we just had recently a conversation with Dr. Aaron Good. It went very well, that conversation, for our small channel. We just have 12K subscribers, but that one was doing pretty well. And Aaron Good really goes deep into that connection, that criminal connection between the US deep state and Israel. And he also goes into the Kirk situation, but also, of course, JFK. Very, very good conversation. So I can really advise you two, but also your audience to have a look. And about the class war, Jen, I think we are on the exact same line when it comes to that. And I think what people often do not realize is that's the way I see it. This class war, and we often have Professor Gerald Horn on, who says the same thing. This class war is friend of the show. He's many times on our show. Love the guy. And he also always says, we are in an international class war. We often forget that. So we believe in good states versus bad states. And then, we have now good states rising and they're going to beat the bad states. But Walden Bellow also said, no, you have an elite all over the world and you have a working class, and you either push back against that elite or you don't. It's not a nation war, a war between nations. It's a war between classes, and that war is international. And one final thing I wanted to say to Peter, to other Peter, not my Peter, but Jen's Peter. and I know you guys are not married, so I didn't mean it like that. You know what my fear is, Peter, when it comes to the right and the right wing, that there's a split, America First, anti-Israel, which I also am very enthusiastic about. I think everybody's enthusiastic about that. My fear is with the right, that the Israelis or the deep state, whatever you want to say, they'll find a brown patsy that is going to do some kind of false flag attack, and everybody falls in line. Everybody falls in line. It's an Iranian or a Palestinian or whatever. And that's my fear with the right. They're often very loyal to authority. They're very loyal to the flag. And you just need one brown patsy that does something really, really bad, and they'll fall in line. What do you think?
I disagree. I
think I'm going to kick Travers' ass. Travers, pipe down there. Them's fighting words. Sorry.
Anyway, I don't agree, because I think that you get to a point where you just see the system for what it is. I think it's becoming more and more obvious that the distractions again, you got race hustlers in every culture. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. You could be white, you could be black, Hispanic, Asian. It doesn't matter. There's race hustlers all over our political arena. You have the white supremacist types, and then you have the black power types that are completely corporate, like the Al Sharptons of the world. Like, there's no, that you can't, you're cutting it with that knife of, they're going to find a brown patsy. It's like, Yeah, they were able to do that for a while, but you know what? When the country is suffering economically the way that it is, and now that you had this big expose, the latest expose that came out about where are all these accounts coming from, the fact that the Department of Homeland Security's social media accounts are run out of Tel Aviv, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. And that wakes up everybody. They're like, oh, yeah, these things are just distractions. So Jen and I don't see eye to eye on immigration or a number of other social
I
issues.
just want to wait. I want to say something because I do agree that there's always going to be a brown person to blame for stuff, right? So right now it's a combination of, you know, do we hate the Muslims or the Mexicans crossing the border? But it's brown people nonetheless, right? So there's always going to be that inclination to have people punch down and not be distracted, you know, and be distracted so we're not looking at who's really fighting, who we're really needing to fight. But I think it's working less and less and less. And I think that is definitely correlating with how bad our economy is and what people are now able to see on their own phones. I think that whole, plus with what happened with however 20 something years with Iraq and Afghanistan and all of that stuff after 9/11, I do think that because we're so able to see everything on our phones, that it's not going to work. I don't think it's going to work as well. I think that it's old already.
You eventually.
Okay. Yeah, I certainly hope so. I share the same fear with as Kareem, but I don't have my finger on the pulse of the U.S. And one of the more hopeful things that I see or maybe just imagine is that, like both of you were saying, this sort of tactic might be losing its potency. Like if you go back to the Iraq War, they had a year-long propaganda campaign to get everybody behind it. Today, I just have to suspect that a similar attempt would not fall on such gullible ears. Like there seems to be so much conspiracy theorizing. I don't mean that in a pejorative sense. From a lawyer's perspective, conspiracies happen every single day. Some of them are true, some of them are false, whatever. But the fact that there's so much distrust seemingly throughout U.S. society makes me kind of lean in your more skeptical direction about whether a similar propaganda campaign would work. My only additional fear, though, is that, yes, it's because of our screens, but what if that phenomenon has occurred because the owners of our screens, the people who own the social media companies, were solely focused on profit maximization and only recently got a much more heavy hand from the government to start censoring things and just, deprioritizing them so that they can, in the future, just stop the spread of what would otherwise be a very convincing argument or what have you. That I just put that out there as a potential worry.
Well, I think that ship has sailed. Like, I think that we cannot unsee what we have seen. And there are too many avenues now where people who, whether it's whistleblowers or people that are veterans or people that have been on the inside that are coming out and reporting what they're saying. I just think there's too much of it. And they could sit there and keep trying to play whack-a-mole. That's what it is. They'll keep, like, maybe Larry Ellison will keep trying to buy up all the media as fast. It's like he's like the Onceler from the Lorax. It's like you just get it all, and it's not working. It's not working, and ultimately they're going to lose.
And this is why they're going to lose. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Revolutionary Change PAC, but we did start a PAC, and we were happy to promote the ASA PAC, which came out recently, but that is a public PAC. We are a super PAC, so we are not able to coordinate directly with the candidates in question, but we do have a mini slate that we have. But more importantly, we have content that has been gaining traction on both Instagram and Facebook. Here's an example of one of the short ads that we recently put out.
Safety and the security of Israel must always be a priority, a high priority of the United States. And as long as I am leader in the Senate, support for Israel's security in the Senate will be non-negotiable.
This is not your place anymore. It's much better in Israel.
We are done with AIPAC-funded candidates that put foreign interests ahead of the interests of working Americans. You can help us beat AIPAC at their own game. Please donate to Revolutionary Change now and help us fight fire with fire.
This is interesting. I just wanted to bring it up. I'm sorry. I hate to cover Pete's face, but yeah, I know you're. It's like Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. You know, he was so excited to be on the cover, even though he was behind the QR code. So this is somebody mentioning an interesting conversation you had with Jay Shapiro about growing up inside the Jewish American community. So, Pete, are we done?
That's also one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on. Yeah.
Okay, so we could talk about that. We have 10 minutes before you have to go. I'm happy to talk about that, and I'm happy to come on your show as long as it's not too early in the morning.
Sure. Great. No, I wanted to have you guys on our show, and we will definitely do that in the near future, because I think both of you are. I deeply respect both of you, the way you deal with Zionism in the United States. You are not. How can you say it? You're not self-censoring. You're very courageous in that sense. And Peter and I, we like that you're very direct. And I think you guys need, you guys deserve a lot of respect for that. So I hope to talk to you a bit more about that in the future. But I maybe as a last final question, what I have so many questions. Okay, which one am I going to choose? I'm just going to choose a simple one. What made you guys switch? Maybe what happened that you became so anti-Zionist? Of course, we have the genocide right now. For me, it was 9/11 in those days. It happened for me, but especially in your case, Jen, you are of Jewish descent yourself. What happened? Please tell us.
Sure. So I mean, and we've talked about this on our show about a year before. Yeah, it was October 22. We did a series called Deconstructing Zionism on our show. It was a year before October 7th. You know, for me, Peter wasn't raised Zionist like I was. He wasn't raised to the level that I mean, I was bat mitzvahed in Israel. I spent 6 weeks there on a high school program, planted trees in occupied territory, was used as a tool of ethnic cleansing as a teenager. And I have a lot of rage about this because at the time I didn't realize, you know, I mean, we were lied to and brainwashed and propagandized. And by we, I mean Western Ashkenazi Jews that are raised Zionist. Like we were taught a land without a people for a people without a land. We were taught that there's no such thing as Palestinians. I mean, and the brainwashing is from you don't know anything else. It's not like one thing. It's just constant. And it's this the community and the Jewish Community Center and Hillel and B'nai B'rith and all of the different things. It's just like, and I in a very Jewish community. And so I was definitely a Zionist. I wanted to make Aliyah and I was going to live in Israel and I was all with it. And then after, I want to say the second Intifada, when we had the March of Return and the violence was just starting to really get to a whole other level. And I was just paying attention in a different way. And it was also around the same time that BDS was picking up speed. And I was starting to see anti-BDS legislation here that was, to me, a complete infringement on our First Amendment rights. So now I'm seeing the tentacles, like, and how that's affecting our freedom here. So that was happening around the same time as the second Intifada for me. I was paying attention to that. But it was only, I want to say, in 2019, when I was running for Congress the first time, that I officially parted ways with the concept of a two-state solution, where I officially was like, okay, it isn't just a matter of the Palestinians have rights and they need a state, right? It's a matter of Zionism is evil, it's white supremacy, and there should not even be a Jewish state, right? So that, for me, really was even as late as 2019, I'm sad to say. But yeah, it was a combination of things, but really running for office has been very eye-opening for a lot of reasons, but I do a lot of research. I spend a lot of hours a day researching things and reading and speaking to authors and experts, and it just sort of happened for me. But I don't know, did I answer it? Did I answer it well enough? Like, does that make sense?
Could I follow up?
You did.
Oh,
Wait,
sorry.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. No, I was just going to say better late than never, and you definitely make up for it. I mean, you've become so radically anti-Zionist, and together with your co-host, I think again, I want to emphasize, and I will hopefully you guys allow us to post this also on our channel later on, so that our audience gets introduced to you guys. I think you guys deserve a lot of respect for the way you really go against Zionism and keep going. I think that's fantastic. And but I think Peter wants to ask a question.
Yeah, just to follow up, because this is something we asked Jay about, because it's something that similar to what I experienced starting off kind of very far right ideologically as a teenager, that it's not just a matter of it's not a purely intellectual matter of discovering that the beliefs that you were inculcated with actually don't stand up to scrutiny and that the counter arguments seem far superior. There's also this whole relational aspect of the threat of losing friends, family relationships, etc. How are you able to navigate that and deal with that massive emotional threat?
That's definitely more a me question, because I don't think Peter has really had that to the extent at all that I've had that. This is the thing, like my herd has definitely been thinned significantly over the past 10 years for a variety of reasons. Whether it was people that would attack me for supporting Bernie Sanders and not getting behind Hillary Clinton, whether it's Zios and the fact that I had a friend who I thought was my friend for 20 years who blew me off after October 7th because I just was not seeing it in that same way. So the herd has definitely thinned. I'm fortunate that my parents are like, they're with me in this. They're not loud about it, and they want to enjoy their older years without stressing too much. And I don't blame them, because they worked really hard to get where they are, but they're supportive in terms of they understand why I believe what I believe. But yeah, and to some extent it's been hard, but the upside is that I'm meeting the people that are supposed to be my people, and the people that are not my people weren't meant to be my people. And this has really expedited that process. And I'm older than you guys. Like I'm 54. I am not looking to maintain bullshit, fake, superficial relationships with people. And I really do not spend a lot of time with people to begin with. So I'm good with my herd thinning. I really am. It needed to happen. But yeah, and I'm also very privileged that me speaking out has not had an economic impact on me. And I'd like to think I would do so anyway, but it is definitely from a position of privilege that I can say what I'm saying, which is why I spend so much time saying what I'm saying, because I know that I can, at least until another synagogue calls the police on us again.
I've had to sever relationships with certain people. What you would consider acquaintances or even outright family. I do not hide how I feel. I come from a mixed family. I identify much more with my father's side than my mother's. And I guess I just kind of grew up in an environment where I was always an independent outside thinker. If I sensed that something was wrong, then I just didn't accept it. I never went along to get along. That's not who I am. So when I saw for years, I mean, again, I have that, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Peter. Sorry, guys, he has another thing, because again, it's tomorrow for him.
Yes.
So he has a whole day ahead of himself. Okay.
And so I thought for a long time that, was I doing something wrong? But I realized, no, I wasn't. I have members of my family that are Jewish, and I could tell you that they carried a real sense of supremacy about them. And I didn't want any part of it. I didn't want to hear it. It went double for how they spoke about my Italian grandfather and my Irish father. And when that started happening, I said, well, I don't give a flying fuck who these people are. I don't care if I am blood related. I don't want anything to do with them. They can go off and be in their own little stupid enclave. And now, as a result of them biting off more than they can chew, there's going to come a point in the near future where they're going to have to be looking over their shoulders for the rest of their lives. And you know what? They earned it.